back-to-back days or back-to-back positive days of news on the coronavirus vaccine as well as the treatment. Certainly not doing a lot to quiet the concerns as about the virus and the trajectory of it as we continue to see these case counts rise. The latest to fire a warning shot, Dallas Fed President Robert Kaplan, and Brian Cheung is here with his comments. Brian.
Well, Kiko, Fed officials have started speaking for the first time since last Wednesday's decision from the FOMC to hold interest rates at near zero. It wasn't a surprise decision, and the Federal Reserve, as you recall, has signaled that they're likely to keep those interest rates at near zero through at least 2023. But as you mentioned, Dallas Fed President Robert Kaplan, in addition to others, saying that it's going to be an unclear future for the economic outlook, at least for the next few months. He said that the next 2 quarters are going to be, quote, very challenging, very difficult. And we heard from some other Fed officials as well, including Boston Fed President Eric Rosengren, who also made remarks this morning, not offering a rosy outlook. He said states have done little, if anything, to stop the spread. Interestingly, he also said he's watching for financial stability risk with interest rates near zero. He said, quote, "It is particularly important to watch for reaching for yield behavior and excessive risk taking. Easy monetary policy requires more guardrails protecting against rising financial stability risks," end quote. Rosengren talking about the one caveat to the Fed's function for keeping interest rates near zero for quite a long time, meaning that they could actually hike rates if financial stability risks were rising and they needed to try to quell any sort of asset bubbles popping up. Something important to remember as we do go through this low interest rate environment. But for right now, pretty clear message from the Fed that they're not thinking about raising interest rates. Rather, they're just paying attention to the possible risks.
And Brian, speaking of stability risk, the Fed raising climate change as one. We have heard the ECB address this before, but this is a first for the Fed.
Absolutely. The Federal Reserve noting in its financial stability report released yesterday that climate change is now among one of those financial stability risks. This is the first time that the Fed has added that or noted climate change as a possible risk in the history of this report. So quite a tide change of thinking at the Federal Reserve now, noting that there could be some risks of fire sales if there were, for example, in the real estate space, properties that weren't priced appropriately for the risks of fires or hurricanes or floods, disasters like that. So the Federal Reserve likely to keep an eye on that. Keep in mind, a lot of these efforts are spearheaded by Lael Brainerd, who's a Fed governor, who's also rumored to be one of the possible top candidates for Treasury Secretary in a Biden administration. Definitely something worth watching as we do watch that change of power in January of next year.
Okay, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Brian Cheung, thanks so much.